This week on 8-Bit Crafting, we make an LED Nintendo sign. Good morning, my name is Dustin from 8-Bit Crafting. I'm going to run through how to set up the Nintendo sign files for cutting them out in the CNC. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to start with a work size. Now I'm making it 24, and I'm going to make the height, actually I'm going to make the width 26 because the sign is going to be 24 inches wide, and the height I'm going to make 24 inches. Now the final area is not going to be this big. I'm just making this big so that later on in the video I'm going to separate the three pieces of the sign, so that way you guys can see them cut out and the patterns. Eventually you're going to move the back piece and the letters to another file and make them out of 1/4 inch plywood. The first part of it is going to be cut out, which is that frame part where the LEDs sit. That's going to be cut out of 3/4 inch plywood. So I have it set up. I just set it up 0.75. I haven't calibrated any of my material. That's fine. Normally I don't change this until I have the material in hand and I have a chance to have a caliper on it. So I generally change it right before the end there. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I got to start making the frame. So I'm going to make the biggest part of the frame. I'm going to put it at 18 inches. Sorry. The reason because I'm making it 18 inches is because the width of the frame is going to be 6 inches. So that means I have a half circle on either side, which is 3 inches wide. So 3 inches plus 3 inches plus 18 inches equals 24 inches. The height, I'm going to make 6 inches tall. I'm going to hit create. And I'm going to close this. And I'm just going to bring this down here, so that way I can line it up. So next thing I'm going to need to do is make the half circles to put on the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to set it to diameter. I'm going to make them 6 inches. And I'm going to hit create. And then I'm just going to come back down here and create another one. Sorry guys, I'm a little sick, so that's why I'm trying to do this, just to get the video out. So if I cough or clear my throat, I apologize for that. So now what I got to do is I got to make sure that these circles are aligned on this, are dead center here, and then also are aligned up here. So all I'm going to do to do that is I'm going to select the circle first. I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to press the square. I'm going to come up to our align feature, and then I'm going to align it this way, which is great. And then I'm just going to leave it like that because I already got it dead center when I lined up. Generally it'll snap into place, but I just like to double check. So I'm going to do the same thing here, but I'm going to move this one first. Oops, hold on. Let me do this. So I'm going to move this one here, and you see how it snapped? So I know I'm center there. So I just want to select this and just make sure that I'm center top to bottom. So now that I know I'm centered on both sides, what I do is I like to use this little trim tool, and I'm going to trim out the center part. So now I have the outermost part of my frame. The next part I'm going to make is I'm going to make the innermost part of the frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another square, except for this time, because I want this frame to be 1 inch wide. So there's going to be 1 inch up here and 1 inch up here. So I got to deduct that from the overall height. So 6 inches minus 2 inches is 4 inches. And I'm going to create, I'm going to do the exact same thing I just did with the circles, except for they're going to be 4-inch circles. Let me just do that. I'm going to select this circle. I'm going to bring it up here, let it snap in. Just going to double check that I'm aligned the way I want it to be aligned. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim out the insides. So now that I have the inside, I'm going to go ahead, select this one first, select the second one, and I'm going to center to selection. So now I have the outside frame and the inside frame. So what I need to do, so if you weren't putting LEDs in, this would be perfectly fine. You're done. You can go on to the lettering, but since I'm putting LEDs in, sorry, since I'm putting LEDs in, I have to put another circle in between these because that's going to be the pocket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another square, but I'm going to split the difference between these two squares, which would be 5 inches, because the first one was 6 inches, the second one was 4 inches. So here we go. So we do this. Same thing with the circles. I'm going to make the circles 5 inches. And I'm going to hit create. And I'm going to hit create here. I'm going to close this. Select the circle, select the square, align the material, same thing. Align the material, we're good. Didn't move. So I'm going to cut these out. So what I need to do, I'm going to align it to center. Okay, so now I have that part. So the next thing I need to do is this square is 18 inches by 4 inches. I could just make regular freeform lettering and draw text and then just play with the size. But what I like to do is I like to make a square. Great. And then I'd like to select the square. Now this, draw text within a vector box. This will automatically size the text to the size of this box. So it'll look good in proportion to the inside of this circle. So in this case, I'm going to be using a font called Nintendo. I'll put a link in the description to where you guys can find this. But I'm just going to do just spell it out, hit apply. It's automatically going to fit it to its size. And then I'm going to delete the box. And then I'm going to select the text and I'm going to center it to the center of the material. So there you go. So we have the outer border, the inner border, the pocket, and the letters all cut out. So what I got to do now is I got to start separating these so I can actually make the tool paths. So I like to do first is select these three. I'm going to link them so they all become one entity. I'm going to copy, I'm going to paste, and I'm going to bring it up here just so I could separate them out. And then I'll unlink these and put it back. So this will be just the border cut out. Here I'm gonna take just the outline and I'm gonna bring it up. This is gonna be the back panel. This is gonna glue to. And now I could delete these, but I'm just gonna leave them for the purpose of this so you guys can see it later. Now what I gotta do is I gotta start setting up some toolpaths. So I'll open my toolpath screen. The first thing so let me unlink these. The first thing I'm gonna set up is to cut out the pocket. So I'm gonna select these two. I'm gonna use the pocket toolpath. I'm gonna have it do a 1/2 inch. This is 3/4 material, so there'll be a 1/4 inch left between the top of the sign and the LEDs, which I'm fine with. I'm gonna use a 1/4 inch end mill. I'm not gonna use a large clearance tool. I'm not gonna use any kind of ramps or plunges or anything like that. It should work out fine. I'm gonna hit calculate. So if I preview that, all I have is a pocket at this second, which is fine. So now the next part is I'm gonna cut out this inner part because I don't want to cut this out, the whole thing out, until I always want to work from inside out, just because the bulk of the material will still be connected to the bulk of the materials that were being used to cut the sign out of. So the next thing I want to do is I want to cut a pocket, or I want to cut a profile toolpath on the inside. So I'm going to use a 1/4 inch end mill. I'm going to make the depth just a little bit deeper than the actual width of my material. For this case, like I said, I just chose an obligatory number that was bigger than 0.75. I haven't mic'd any of the material that I was going to use for this. So just keep that in mind. Make sure that you're catering this number to the size of your material. I generally use about 20 thousandths more. About 20-ish thousandths more than the actual material. That generally gets me through without digging into my wasteboard too deep. Since we're cutting this out from the inside, we need to make sure that we choose the inside. I like to use a separate last pass of 0.002. This cleans up any kind of chatter as your bit was going down. So like if you didn't put this in, you would normally, at least on my machine, because it's not perfectly trammed, I would see lines at every depth that my bit cut at. This will do a final cleanup pass at the full depth of the bit, so you're not going to see those lines anymore, which is great. I'm not going to mess with tabs or anything like that. Generally, I super glue most of my materials down using the double tape and super glue method. So I'm going to hit calculate. It's going to give me a warning and say, hey, you're cutting deeper than your material. You okay with this? Okay, I'm good. So I reset the preview and I preview all tool paths. So this is what I have. There is some little strands here. I just ignore them. They fall off anyways. You won't see them in the end. So we got the profile, or I mean, we got the pocket cut out, and then we got the inner part cut out. So now we need to cut the outer part out, which is the same as the inner part, except for we're gonna go to the outside of the line this time, still do a separate pass, and then calculate. So there we go. So at this point, if this was a 3/4 inch material, this is what it would look like. The LEDs, let me bring this down here. The LEDs are going to be sitting in this, are going to be glued right here, and they're just going to follow this curve around. Now, what I did was I used a miter saw to cut out a little slot here for the cable to come through. You could set up a tool path to cut this little area out. That way it's more precise looking and it's not really kind of janky looking like mine was, but you should be fine either way. So let's assume now we've switched materials. This is 1/4 inch thick. I make this out of 3/4 inch. I make this out of 1/4 inch and the letters out of 1/4 inch Baltic birch plywood. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and cut out these. So I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna do a profile cutout path. I'm gonna stick it to the outside because it's, let's just assume that this was 1/4 inch material. The bit that I use for 1/4 inch material is a 1/16 inch bit that I got from Amana. I'll put the link to the bit that I use when I cut all these out. So we'll get that set up. We'll do the outside. We'll do the separate last pass again. I'm not going to use any kind of tabs or anything like that. We're going to calculate. It'll give the warning again. We're good. I'm not going to do the preview tool pass because let's just get through this. Same thing here. We're going to cut out profile. Outside. We'll do a separate last pass. And we'll go ahead and calculate using the same bit. Tell me it's going to cut through. I'm going to reset preview. I'm going to preview all tool paths. I'm going to delete the little extra pieces. And there you go. That's what the end up file would look like. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get this out on the machine. I'm going to probably do some voiceovers just because I've just been crazy busy. I'm trying to do a couple commissions for some friends. Also, I'm trying to get ready for Christmas where I'm making Christmas presents for everybody. I may be uploading some videos here shortly that aren't video game themed, but you know, I think people still will enjoy them. But let's get this out to the machine, guys, and I appreciate you guys following along. Thank you. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking off the excess material. I find that there's a good time to use a vacuum to suck up the excess. Then what you're going to see me do here is I'm going to pull out the sander and start sanding the top part of this frame. It just makes it really easy. It doesn't move because at this time right now it's still technically glued down to the table. And then once I get this done, I will swap out the material to the 1/4 inch Baltic birch and get it cutting. So what you guys are about to see here and why it's not super fast like the rest of the time lapse is I just wanted to show my mistake. So what I did here was I accidentally left the depth of the cut to 0.766 as if I was cutting 3/4 inch material. So what's happening right now is it's pretty much digging in and cutting through my waste board, which is fine. That's why we have waste boards. But I did have to stop the program here and then fix the file and then recut it again. I also had to end up cutting a new letter I base up in the upper right hand corner, but once I fixed that, everything worked out perfectly fine. So what I'm doing here is I'm priming everything to be painted, the individual colors. The white, the border here will be white, the letters will be white, and then this back part that I'm currently spraying right here is going to be a gloss red. Unfortunately, I lost a lot of the painting footage, and I'm not sure exactly how I did it, but I did. It just didn't save it correctly. It got corrupted, so trying to figure that part out, but just moving on. So all you're really going to see me here is painting the primer onto all of the pieces, and then after that, it's going to jump to me putting the LED light strips in. So what I'm doing here is I'm gonna run a bead of super glue around the border just to make sure it's locked in. I know a lot of times these LED strips have adhesive, but that adhesive comes loose after a while. Me putting a bead of super glue around the inside rim really ensures that it never comes out once it's done. Once I put it in there. I do wish though I would have moved the camera up a little bit more so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. But majority of it, I'm just gluing around the edges, running a quick bead around the inside, and then just sticking it and holding it there for a second. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to go ahead and glue the letters to the back of the sign. What I did in preparation of this is I cut out a piece of 1/4-inch wood, which is in the video section that I'm cutting out the actual letters, which is the exact height from the bottom of these letters to the edge of this sign. So that way I know vertically I'll be dead center. And then what I tried to do here is I tried to use a broke off piece of a paint stick as a spacer, but it ended up not working because things were sliding around. Probably should have glued the letters down first, then spaced it. Hindsight, maybe next time that's what I'll do. Somebody did recommend to me that I cut out a paper template and then not glue the paper template, but use that as a template for the gluing of the letters down. Might try that on my next project. Essentially, it doesn't need to be perfect. I'm just kind of lining things up to make it the best that I can. And then I'm just going to glue them down one by one, holding the letters down with my super glue, and then we're good to go. So now what I'm doing here is I'm just giving myself a nice, really good even coat of super glue all the way around the border of the edge. You can see now that the glue is dried how the LEDs sit down into that recess and kind of edge like the sign. Once I feel I have enough glue, I'm gonna turn it over, press it down against the back of the sign. I'm gonna clamp the front part, and then the part that's closest to the camera, I'm gonna just push down on it. I mean, super glue sets up relatively quick, within 30 seconds in most cases, at least the super glue that I'm currently using. So I'm just using my fingers to kind of like guide the edges and make sure everything's lined up front and back, and then clamp down that front part and then hold down the back part. And then I'm gonna plug in the lights just to test to make sure that they work, and we should be good to go on this one. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap up another one. As you can see, I made it a backlit LED Nintendo sign. Let me see if I can bring it up a little bit so it looks. So if you see, the LEDs are just down here in this groove. It lights up really nice. I can't wait to hang it on my wall just to try it out. Like I said, this was a gift for a friend, so I'll be giving it away pretty quickly. If you guys enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and ring the little notification bell. I got some more projects coming up, but they're going to be more non-video game related projects for Christmas. I got a fundraiser that I'm making a couple baskets for to hand out as a raffle prize. And then I also got some Christmas presents I got coming up. I really hope you guys enjoyed following along. I did do a time-lapse video this time for most of it, just because I have been underneath the weather, and last thing you guys want to hear me is coughing and sneezing and all that good stuff. So once again, if you guys enjoyed this video, it would help me out immensely if you hit that subscribe button and drop a like. If you guys have any ideas or would like to see something made, please drop a comment down below. I'm willing to work with most people. Right now, though, is a little tough just because of the Christmas season and all of the stuff I got going on, but I definitely can try to make a future video around it. I really appreciate you guys, and like I said, like I always like to say, just keep crafting. Thanks, guys.